Hello and welcome to a brand new Mind Mastery video. Today I'm going to talk about the differences between feeling lonely, so loneliness, and solitude, being in solitude. So I'm going to start from loneliness because I think this mental state creates lots of feelings that we might often be very uncomfortable dealing with. And it also carries this social weight that might create kind of some sort of burden within us and create this feeling that there's something wrong with us, for example. So loneliness is rarely something that we choose. It often is a result of circumstances that we find ourselves in. So, for example, when we go to a new country, when we don't have enough people in our social circle, when we don't have enough friends, or when we are single, so when we are not in a romantic relationship. Loneliness often arises as a result of our social needs not being met. So needs for human warmth, connection, being understood, having someone to share our life with, right? When we perceive that our needs are not being met by other people, that's when this feeling of loneliness comes in. And it might often push us towards other negative feelings. So we might blame ourselves for not being, for example, socially adept, or perhaps we might start thinking that there's something wrong with us because there is not enough people around us. So the more we kind of dive into this idea of loneliness or feeling of loneliness or experience of loneliness, the more stuff we're going to find in order to explain this state to ourselves, because we just want to know why we are feeling lonely, right? What is wrong with us? What's wrong with our social skills, for example? Or we might start going into the other extreme and start blaming other people for not meeting our needs. So there's something wrong with society, with other people, with our friends, family. Now if we compare it to a solitude, we can see that solitude is a state of being that we choose. We make that choice to kind of step outside the society for a little bit, move away from people, go outside our social circle and be with our own selves. So we kind of choose to face whatever comes into our mind at that time. So whatever mental states, feelings, personality traits, thoughts and memories might come in when we are by ourselves. And that's not often a very pleasant state to be in, but when we make that choice to be by ourselves, we don't often agree just to be with all the nice things that solitude might offer, such as, being a bit more independent, doing whatever we want, where we don't have to ask other people for permission, or we don't have to be considerate. But as I've said, this state also comes in with possible negative feelings and emotions and mental states that we need to face if we want to continue being comfortable with being by ourselves. So the question is, what happens to our social needs when we choose to be by ourselves, when we choose solitude? Do they just disappear? Do they go away? I don't think that's the case at all. I think what happens is that when we feel lonely, we start clinging to other people to meet our needs. So what it means that as a result of this clinging, as a result of kind of magnifying our social needs and clinging to other people to meet them for us, we kind of expand this feeling of loneliness even further and further, right? Because we don't see our needs for what they are, but we start searching for the causes in other people of why our needs are not being met, in a sense, right? And the more we cling, the more we attach ourselves to this idea of not having our needs met, the more lonely we start becoming. And I know this is an extreme way of looking at the feeling of loneliness, and I'm not trying to minimize this feeling, and I'm not trying to invalidate it, because I think it's a very valid feeling. I think we all experience loneliness once in a while, and it's natural to experience that. But the question is, how can we deal with that? What can we do with that, right? Where is the boundary between having a regular social needs, natural social needs, and clinging towards these needs, to these desires of having our needs met? In solitude, I think these social needs are still being present. The difference is that since we choose to be by ourselves, we choose to deal with these needs however we can. So that might involve other people occasionally, whenever we can, wherever we decide to come out of our solitude. And that kind of leads me to the other extreme of loneliness and solitude and being by ourselves, which is completely denying our social needs, where we say that, all right, I don't have any needs at all. I don't need other people in my life. I'm completely self-reliant and independent. So I think this is completely the opposite end of the spectrum to loneliness, where we deny our own needs and when we completely isolate ourselves from the society, in a sense, and other people. So we close ourselves to ourselves, because very often, in order to know yourself, you need to be with other people, because there are some parts of you that will come out only when you are with other people. So that's something to consider as well. But someone who isolates themselves on purpose, someone who neglects their social needs, someone who says that, all right, I don't need other people at all, I think they are living in a big lie where they deny their own needs and their own feelings and their own emotions. Because anytime we go into a sort of extreme, we are putting ourselves out of balance. So we deny certain parts of ourselves in order to keep that extreme in check. So when it comes to solitude and loneliness and isolation, I think it's important to keep this balance between these two, so that we acknowledge our own social needs and we strive to meet them. We strive to take the responsibility for them, right, the best we can. So some of these needs might be met by ourselves, where we can provide enough self-care and enough attention to ourselves, right? But some of them might still involve other people. So we might enjoy forming relationships, forming friendships, but when we do it out of this place of taking responsibility for our social needs, we will not be doing it out of clinginess, but out of, joy and pleasure, because we choose to do it, right? So again, this is something that arises from the state of solitude, when we are self-contained, when we put good boundaries around our own being, right? And actually, perhaps this state of solitude is exactly this point of balance between loneliness, so clinginess to other people, clinginess to, various social things that society can or cannot provide, and complete isolation, where we deny and cut ourselves off our social needs. So again, in solitude, we make conscious choices. We make a priority to be with ourselves first before we go to other people. So we work on ourselves first, with kind of process different feelings and emotions, and only then, when we are ready, we go to other people, we meet other people out of not neediness, but out of conscious choice, right? So we choose other people, we choose social interactions as an addition to our own life, as an addition to what we already have. And the last question I was thinking about is it possible for someone who chooses solitude to feel lonely? I think there might arise a feeling that, all right, it would be nice to have another person, it would be nice to meet someone, it would be nice to be in a relationship. But again, since that person is in this point of balance, of solitude, they will not be clinging to these ideas, they will not be clinging to their desires and needs to be with someone, but rather they will strive to meet their needs, their social needs for connection, in this more balanced way. So they will start from this point of working with themselves, kind of familiarizing themselves with their social needs, and only then taking actions, which is quite contrary to someone who is lonely and will often, go through extreme measures to meet other people. So that could sort of create states where we, for example, might feel depressed, or, as I said on the beginning of the video, when we kind of ruin our self-esteem and say that there's something wrong with us and that's why we can't be with other people. Or they will become very clingy and people-pleasing just to be with other people, because it's so difficult for them to be in solitude, to be with themselves, and to face this kind of void and emptiness that surrounds us all, right? Because essentially we are all by ourselves. Sure, I think we have various connections. We are part of the society, part of the community, but we are still kind of separated by our own bodies. So I think this is another possible challenge that someone that chooses solitude might need to face in order to be more comfortable with themselves and know themselves better. So that's pretty much it for today. Thank you very much for watching, and thank you for your continuous support. Without you, this channel wouldn't exist. If you're interested in working with me, don't hesitate to send me a private message. And if you're not sure if coaching is right for you, I now offer a free 20 minutes consultation. So if you'd like to book your session, you can contact me via our website or Facebook or Twitter. Thank you very much for watching. See you next time.